Welcome to the What's Up Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Carter. I'm here with my co-hosts, Mattson Heiner.
And what's up, Doc? Better red than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
I think that might have been your most accurate one that you've ever done. Though I still can't get over suffering succotash.
Yeah, I feel like I do a pretty good job on the I say when I do that.
Well, no,
You do have a very good foghorn leghorn.
Yes, you do, sir. Yes, you do. Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're here live to talk about the Mandalorian, Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. It was interesting. I didn't know really how to feel about it. I wanted to hate it, but I actually enjoyed it.
Why?
Yeah.
So explain to me. I'm just a casual Star Wars fan. Why should I hate it? Could I hate it?
Well, it had nothing to do with Star Wars as to why I wanted to hate it. It was like
It was
Jack Black. It was
Lizzo.
Like that stuff. And even Jack Black, I didn't mind, but like Lizzo, and then the weird, and then Christopher Lloyd, and it was like the big, huge.
There's some star power.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. But yeah, I wanted to hate it, but I actually enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. I had fun with it. Like I said, I could have done without Lizzo. She added nothing for me because she can't act her way out of a fucking
Yeah, I was gonna say
box.
The acting was subpar. Even Christopher Lloyd, I don't know, he's past his heyday or something. It just didn't really.
Like 95.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's old.
it didn't really work. Like he's had it in the past, but I think it's past him.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun to see him. It was interesting. But I mean, it also started with the weird Corn and Mon Calamari love story thing. I was like, I don't understand. It was just weird to me that they started with that. And then again, that one felt like it was supposed to be like a big cameo. Because if you guys noticed, did you guys recognize the voice or who you thought was the voice based on the voice of the kid, the Mon Calamari? Sounded like a very big actor, but it wasn't him. It was his little brother. It sounded like Tom Holland, but it was Tom Holland's brother that voiced.
I don't have a crush on Tom Holland, JJ, so I didn't make that connection.
I just was like, he sounds like Tom Holland. It was really just kind of that thing. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't yeah, it was. They just tried too hard in a lot of weird ways, and so I wanted to hate it, but I had a good time with it, and I thought the story was really good. It was an interesting take on the different political views and droids as humans, I guess, or people. I thought it was interesting, so I liked it as much as I didn't want to like it.
Yeah, the whole droid bar scene, it's quite touching. When they're like, we want to serve humans, and they made us, and then they all chirped. I was like, yeah, little R2 sounds. Let's go.
Rah, go team. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I can't be mad at it. I thought it was pretty funny at moments. I thought Jack Black always makes me laugh because he's ridiculous, but he's fun. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, I could have done without Lizzo. And I could have done without the weird love story at the beginning because I just added no value except to show that we now know that this band of Mandalorians that have been working is basically the Night Owls are the ones that probably boosted Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we've created some future conflict between all parties. So it'll be hard for Bo-Katan to keep that connection when one side freed the guys that have a real beef with the other side, and yeah, it's a mess. So, but I did like that story too. And I liked that they finally gave Bo-Katan the Darksaber. I was surprised that they hadn't figured it out earlier, and maybe he was just biding his time.
Dalton?
Dalton is
Dalton?
here. Hey, check out Dalton. Yeah, man. Just seeing Jack Black pop up on the screen for the first time was the best part of this episode. It was funny.
Well, it's also funny because I just saw we're about to record Mario, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I just heard Jack Black yesterday, and I was like, oh wait, he's here today. Like Jack Black doing blackjack things.
Yeah. He's all over the place. All right, Alec, you look like you're in pain. I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm just confused
Okay.
with several parts. So I didn't understand the whole kind of separatist subplot with Christopher Lloyd. Because a big part of like the actual movies is that the separatists went bye-bye. Gonzo. And aside from a couple isolated pockets of battle droids, like there was a lot of battle droids stuck on Plaisir 15. Which, even though they were, cattle pretty much, it's not something that anybody would just leave lying around as easy as it was to reprogram them. So I didn't buy into that, and I was going like, what's the point of putting battle droids in there? You could have done anything and still come across with the same basic concept. So I was sitting there. I spent way too long trying to figure out why battle droids. And then one of them was apparently an Olympic sprinter. Like, go you, dude. I wanted to get away. It was doing so well. And then the other thing was the big fight at the end with Bo-Katan and what's his bucket? Alex Wolf or whoever.
Yeah.
Dude, she knocked him down in the first 2 seconds of this fight. And it would have been won in the next 2 seconds. But somehow he makes a fight out of it. No, dude. She comes in, kicks him on his ass, dodges a couple wrist rockets, 2 to the chest, 1 to the dome. This guy's done. And it was just, you didn't need that. And so a lot of what I saw in this episode was just kind of pointless filler to the point where it was just unnecessary. And this is almost to the point of, having like a big kind of cliffhanger at the end of last episode, and then having a filler episode. That's a lot of like season 1 stuff where you're still kind of tying in the big lore and doing a bunch of story. But now it's like you're following a story arc. Focus on that. Like you don't need to kind of leave this mystique anymore. You've got the meat of your show. Go get it. Because I left this episode going, okay, cool. Like I'm not super excited for next week. In the contrary, like in the last episode, I was like, dude, I can't wait for Mandalorian. And I was like, okay, well, cool, whatever. And I'm gonna watch it because I have to, but I'm not, super excited about it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of moments where I was like, man.
Fair.
Nintendo.
I think
Alec, you forgot to end your synopsis with "I have spoken."
Yeah. That's true. I did like seeing the Ugnaughts
too. Yeah, the Ugnaughts were fun, and having him talk about it. I can see what you're saying. I didn't mind it because it brought back stuff that felt like got left behind in all of like the deep lore stuff, because that was always one of Mando's things, was like the anti-droid thing. And so having that back, and like that was like, I love the line, he's like, you had me at battle droids, especially because those are and I think that was the key to this, like why the battle droids was because they're like Din Djarin's nemesis, right? Like he doesn't like droids in general, but battle droids are the ones that killed his family, almost killed him. So he has like a serious vendetta against battle droids in general. And I thought that was hilarious shit when he was just kicking them. He starts kicking them. He's like, one of them will react. It was just like, so so I mean, I get that. I don't know that they did it as well as they could have. I don't know if it was written very well for what they were trying to do. So I get what you're saying there, but I didn't mind that. And I actually, the fight was a little unnecessary. I would have liked to have seen. Yeah, I was excited when it seemed like she was just going to be like, whoop his ass because he shoots the rockets, and then she just beats. Then it was like this fight got elongated or whatever. I'm with you. I could have seen him ending it really quickly.
What's wrong with Mandalorians fighting Mandalorians? I've never even seen it. I didn't have a problem with it. Let it happen.
No, I mean, I was okay with it. Like I was okay with the
see them use all their goodies. Her the fire, her shield, the wrist cable. You just had to see all them use all their stuff. I was cool with it.
Yeah, but she started so heavy with her opening move that fight's done. Like
Until
that
it
was my
wasn't
issue
done.
with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but see, have her come in a little less strong, and then it makes a little bit more of a fight. Versus this, I was like, oh, dude, that guy lost. He's done.
I didn't have a problem with it. All it showed me is that she had more tricks in her bag than he did.
Yeah, I mean, I was okay with the fight. I'm just saying that I don't disagree with Alec in that I would have been perfectly okay if the fight had ended with the drop kick. Like, just because it was
Sure. Would
Yeah.
have shown how badass she was? Fine. Hey, I'm not gonna disagree with that notion. But did I mind having 2 more minutes of Mandalorians fighting each other? No.
Sure. I was okay with that.
I did because I was like, this fight should already be over. I didn't need it. Didn't want it.
But if it was in black and white, you would have liked it.
Oh, absolutely.
Here we go. At least it wasn't in Letterbox. Nobody likes that shit.
You know what this episode did touch upon? I'm gonna go off on a slightly different tangent than where JJ's going. So Jay, finish up what you're gonna say, and then I'll get a little rando.
No, I was just saying it felt to me like they were touching on things that they've forgotten, especially early on with like these weird Coruscant episodes and episodes that don't matter. And I felt like the only thing that feels like it's getting put on the back burner this entire season for the most part is Grogu, which I think is weird since that's the trigger for the whole thing. I honestly think they should have left him with Luke. I get that's why a lot of people watch it, but I think you've established because right now they're just wasting this character. He's just like cute
he was
fodder.
House Cat to Lizzo, right? For this,
yeah.
Episode.
He was like, "Here, I'll make her win on this weird game that they're playing," and like croquet meets something. I don't know, bug wars,
Wonderland shit going on.
Yeah. So, but I was actually pretty okay with like how they treated Mandalorian, Bo-Katan. I am loving Katie Sackhoff, and I like her anyway, but she's killing it as Bo-Katan. I'm more interested in Bo-Katan right now than I am even in Din Djarin, and I like their dynamic quite a bit. So I'm enjoying that. So overall, like I said, I wanted to hate it because of the weird shit that was in it, but I actually had a good time watching this episode. All right, Mattson, let's hear it.
Random stuff. I gotta go back to what Alec talked about with the Olympic sprinter being the battle droid. I couldn't help just thinking back to episode 2 of Star Wars with how rigid and when they're walking, there's just like they have the arm out, and that's all you think that they can do because that's all we have seen them do. And I didn't know that this machine could run like a scared little boy with its mom chasing after it. But I did like it. They did a good job making droids in such feel human, like, and I was like, oh, like next time I watch episode 2, I'm gonna be like, they can move better than that. These guys have hips, they have kneecaps, they maybe they don't want to fight right now, but you know what? They're following goddamn orders right here. So that was one. But then the other one that made me think of real life, though, that this episode touched upon, that people are starting to talk about, especially with AI coming about and the rise of machines that can do things, is maybe one day living in a society when we have that, what they call like universal income, basically, where we all don't have to work one day. Cause that's what this city was about. These people were just out there partying and do whatever they wanted. And it was interesting to just see what that could look like in a Star Wars universe perspective. Cause it's not happening in our lifetimes for sure, but maybe in some lifetime, 200-300 years from now, it may be that.
Yeah. Sounds awful.
And I don't know how I feel about that because it sounds great for a little while, but then like once you just start living that, I wonder if I would get bored.
You'd be like those people in WALL-E, stuck on the chair, rolling around.
Fat people recliners.
Anymore. Yeah, 100%.
What do you think about that, Jay? If you could do that now, do you think you would get bored?
No. Dude, to not have to like I was all for that shit. When they start talking about it, I was like, when Christopher Lloyd's like, dude, if we shut them down, they'll have to go to work. I'm like, don't shut that shit down. Get your hand off the button, bitch. Because I'm down, dude. If I don't have to like cook, clean, work, I can just hang out, record podcasts, play video games, like not have to worry. And I'm down, 100% down. But the problem with that is, on a deeper level, there's not, and they show the extravagant piece, right, with Jack Black, Captain Bombardier, and freaking, the Duchess and whatnot, and all these people, but we don't see the underbelly of. We see a little bit of it with like the people that are running the droids, like with Christopher Lloyd and his group. Like they weren't obviously non-working and wealthy, and so there's a level somewhere. You don't have a high level of society like that without a lower level holding them up. And some of that's the droids, but where are the people maintaining the droids? Where are the people, you know what I mean? We see a little bit of it, and it might still be better than what it could be because the droids are doing the shit that nobody wants to do. But society just doesn't work that way. There's no such thing as a purely utopian society. It's impossible. So I thought it was
it takes some reworking of my brain because I feel like my sense of purpose, which I still struggle with today, because the life I'm living, it's great to have Tay and our dog, and I mean, my job is my job. I'm not someone. I mean, I think most people in this world work because we have to. It's very rare that you are working because you want to, like it's your passion. I think that's like, honestly, for me, I think it's like 1% of the people out there. I just don't really. If you gave all of us on this podcast $10 million tomorrow, we're not doing what we were scheduled to do tomorrow.
I'd sell out for a lot less than 10
million. Yeah, sure. I mean, you gave me. I need more than $1 million. Probably like 2 million. Then maybe we're talking. I'd figure out a way to make it happen. I'd do something.
1,000. I'm gone.
I love it.
But then I'm like, that's one thing I'm excited about having a kid, is because I feel like it gives me more of a sense of a purpose and like a legacy, and being able to teach and love something more than myself. And maybe if I still had that, but I didn't have to work and could just spend time with those people, maybe there's something to be said for that. That would give me more. But if it was just me and wasn't connected to anything, and I didn't have to work and could do what I wanted, the way I'm wired, at some point I'd still have an identity crisis to an extent, unless my new identity was become the best Rocket League player out there. Like maybe that's what I started to do. I don't know. Like it's nothing I'll ever have to have the answer for, but it made me think about that watching this episode, about where and what I would ultimately spend my time with, and how much I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't love what I do for work. Like I would be done tomorrow. There's a lot of things I'd be done with, but at the same time, I know when I have too much time on my hands, when I come out of that after a certain period of weeks, I miss having something to do that feels like I have to do it. Because then when I return to video games or sports or whatever, I know it's more finite, and I tend to enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have that problem. I enjoy what I do for work, but there are plenty of things that I'd rather do than work. And that's like, for me, it would be like, if I didn't have to take 8 to 9 to 10 hours a day, depending on the day, to work for an organization that I don't own, that I don't really get other than my salary and my, what I get from them in that regard, doesn't do anything for me. So yeah, there's plenty of things I'd rather do. Work on my house, work on my yard, play video games, and all those things take a back seat most of the time because I need to get paid, because I lack money.
Yeah. And maybe I just go travel for months on end, and then I go volunteer and help people, and that's what you do. So yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'd find a way to make it work.
Yeah. I'd be recording this episode from like Scotland or something. Somewhere not in Utah with snow.
Bagpipes.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting take. That's why I said I really like the politics of the show, because that comes back to Christopher Lloyd and the Separatists. Yeah, I mean, the Separatists lost the war, obviously, because they were set up to lose the war, the Clone Wars. But, I mean, I thought it was interesting. Like, I didn't see it coming when he's talking about, Count Dooku was a visionary and like the Separatists was like a great thing. And I was like, I mean, that's interesting to me, because you don't hear about the Separatists since the Clone War ends, right? But the same as when you think about the original trilogy, at the end of it, what happened to the Empire? It doesn't just go away, right? Like it's something that big and that structured and organized. doesn't just fall away and disappear. It's got to be the same with the Separatists. The Separatists were, that movement was large and they had a huge droid army. And I love that they mentioned like the tech that was used was part of the Separatists because it was the Techno Union, which was the droid slash android, like we saw them in, at least in the prequel trilogy, and we saw them a lot in the Clone Wars animated show where, you know, they had that kind of tech and they helped build the droids and things like that, or design the droids. And so I thought that was interesting that all this stuff came from that Separatist piece. So for me, I liked that because this political stuff that you just don't see much of in Star Wars. It's about the action and the lightsabers and the blasters and the Mandalorians and the Beskar armor. And so I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool that we're seeing, because I always enjoy, this is one of my favorite parts of back before the, you know, when we still only had the original trilogy and the Christmas special. You know, the best part about the extended universe in the books was like we would get things like Thrawn and what was happening with the Empire after, you know, Return of the Jedi and the things that were happening in between those things. And so for me, those are the things that I really latched onto. So when Christopher Lloyd started talking about Separatists, I was like, ooh, that's interesting. It's a different take because I just wasn't expecting it at all. So I thought that was kind of fun. But that for me, that was the best part of this episode, was the political, interesting take on what was going on, and then watching Din Djarin just be a complete dick to droids again. That part's always funny to me. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Thought it was fun. Could have been better, could have been worse. It certainly wasn't episode 2 where we sit in the freaking pointless shit for an hour. Oh, Dalton. So you got to go get going soon. Well, that's too bad. But I got one last thought to see what you guys think. I'm glad Bo-Katan got the Darksaber, but I kind of wish we got a Din v. Bo battle for the saber, at least more Din Darksaber moments throughout the season. Din's kind of been mid this season in comparison to other season. What do you guys think? I'll say I agree. I've been looking forward to and dreading the Din versus Bo battle because
she'll kick his ass.
Yeah, I mean, she'll beat his ass, and I like Bo-Katan more than I have more buy-in with Bo-Katan because I watched all the animated shows and she was really
Wait,
cool.
we're saying she's truly more badass than Din in like actual lore?
100%.
Oh.
Yeah, she's older, she's way more experienced. She would kick the shit out of this dude. He's a gunslinger, she's just a brawler, which is one of the differences between the two of them. But I like her, and I really like her character in this show. I like what they've done with it. So, but I do feel like they're not doing Din Djarin any favors this season. I really think his character and that drive is suffering, but I could also see them shifting. And I said this season 1 that Din Djarin should not be the center of this show forever because there's not enough buy-in for him or story to keep it moving, and we're starting to see that, in my opinion. This is their jump the shark season because it's too much. You have to include him, but he's not the most interesting character in the show right now, in my opinion. So I think it would be smart of them to shift the Mandalorian to more of a group of like the Mandalorians show moving forward. But that's just me. What do you guys think about Dalton's question?
Kind of agree with the Din versus Bo battle, like what JJ was saying. That would have been cool, but also how do you do it justice, right? To where it makes sense, but also gets to the end result. So I kind of like the direction they took, and just avoided it completely. Makes perfect sense. As far as like with Din, yeah, he's been kind of a loser this season. And I almost would prefer, I think, maybe if they did something a little similar to what they did with the Book of Boba Fett, but the Book of Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
And then just bring in Din for a couple episodes here and there, so you still have that tie-in. But then, have the Mandalorian show, for lack of a better term, kind of stay with him and Grogu traveling around the galaxy, stirring up shit and getting paid for it. And because that's what was the real appeal, is having these kind of stopping points along the way where he's collecting bounties and getting into trouble on just all over the galaxy. And so I think that would have been a direction I would like to see, because for so far in this season he's done been captured like twice, and just hasn't done anything. He fell to the bottom of a hole. Like he's just been the damsel in distress the entire season, which kind of doesn't add to any of the character, in my opinion.
Yeah. What about you, Mattson?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I mean, you guys already said what I was going to say. Great. Thanks for chiming in as well. We had a question from one of our guest hosts about how we were feeling about kind of Din Djarin this season. I agree. I think he's been just kind of in the back burner, and I've been disappointed that there hasn't been more to kind of drive where he's at. But I think to JJ's point, maybe there really isn't more. And I do like this new narrative of where Bo-Katan's going. I'm excited about that. I didn't really want them to fight, to be honest, because I wasn't sure how they would make that happen in a conflict, one that I would believe or want to believe, because it seemed like they were getting along, and I actually like their partnership. And so I'd rather see them kind of stay together than grow apart. So I wasn't really rooting for that to happen, but I hope we have Din go out more on a high note. And I don't know if the way things are going right now, I just don't know if he's going to be able to carry the show anymore, nor should he. And the same thing with Grogu. I think it's just more of a puppet that's become distracting, that's cute, but doesn't clearly this season, no purpose to why he's there. Unless that whole cloning thing is going to get kicked back up with Thrawn or whatever's happening, and we're going to basically redo season 1 to an extent. I don't know.
Please,
God, I hope not. Well, and that's kind of what, just like as a final note on that, like I wish they would, I hope that they kind of transfer the lead of the show to a group of Mandalorians, or like the Mandalorians in general, and he's kind of a side character here and there. But I'd love to see those two like leave, and then we have a couple of seasons or a season or two without him, and then we have a time jump, and you come back, and now Grogu can at least speak. Because now it's like the first season and even the second season, he was cute. It was funny. He's eating frog eggs. He's doing weird cookie shit. Like he was adorable, and it added value because you're like, well, we haven't seen anything like this before. Now it's starting to feel like they don't know what to do with him, but he's got to be there. So he becomes Lizzo's freaking pet for an episode, or, he does like weird shit, or he has one little fight with another, Mandalorian kid where he's always underestimated because he's a little kid, he's practically a baby. So yeah, there needs to be something that shifts, and it could be, Gray makes a good point. I feel like he needs to get his feet under him again, like something's been testing his equilibrium. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It feels like ever since he took the Darksaber at the end of season 2, he just hasn't been trying too hard. Like he hasn't figured it out, and now he's back in the swing of things. So, but again, now I've lost interest. I'm more interested in what's going on with Mandalore and Bo-Katan. So I don't know. They've written themselves in a weird corner, and they have an easy way out. I just hope they're brave enough to take it. You know what I mean? And, even if they have to separate it and hopefully pull him out or change the whole dynamic in some way, but they need to do something, because it's hit and miss. I don't know what I'm going to get every episode, and I don't know if I'm going to like it. First 2 seasons, even a crap episode, I was like, this is dope. I'm not feeling that way this season, unfortunately, even though I did enjoy this one. So I did not expect us to talk this long about this episode, but we had some good questions from Dalton and some good points from Gray. So I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm interested. 2 episodes left? 7 and 8? Yeah. Should be interesting. Here you go, Dalton. Maybe the Mandalorian writers just took my advice on Din's character development and fighting ability. It'll get better before it gets worse. See you guys. See you, Dalton. As
Bye,
always,
Dalton.
buddy. Good chatting with you, man. Miss you. We'll have to have you back on again. That was funny. That was good. It'll get better before it gets worse. That's still epic accident. It worked out. So with that, Alec, and Gray, dude, that one got Gray too. That was his catchphrase when he was on for a couple episodes. Gray, it was fun. He did a lot of the Mandalorian with us last season. So, all right, Alec, tell everybody where they can find us when they're not hanging out with us live, buddy.
Happy to. So thank you for tuning into our live show as we discuss The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 6. This was one for the guest host. Quite magnificent guest cast. We will be back same time next week to discuss the next episode. So be sure to tune in to get all things Mandalorian. If this is your first time tuning in, check out the other content we have available wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple, Stitcher, Ghana, or even good old YouTube, where you can match voices with faces. Special thanks to our current patron, Sputtering Sassafras. You are the greatest, and I hope your succotash never suffers. If you are a fan of the podcast and want to be more involved, consider joining us on Patreon, where you can vote on movie and TV content, view behind-the-scenes footage, and force us to watch some of the greatest and worst movies ever made. With that, I will kick it back to the Caliph of Clout, the Behemoth of Bust, JJ.
Sputtering Sassafras. I'm so glad he did that. I'm so glad you looked it up, dude. That was fantastic. That's good shit.
I knew it was coming.
I did kind of ask for it directly, so I'm glad he did it. Charles, always good for a laugh, buddy. Yeah, thanks, Alec. Appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate you tuning in, everyone. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!